All right, let's dive right into today's explainer. We're going to be exploring the absolutely fascinating biology behind high sensitivity, the immense vulnerability that comes with it, and crucially, the psychological tactics you need to protect yourself. We're looking really closely at empaths, narcissists, and a seriously powerful survival strategy known as the gray rock method. But first, let me just ask you a pretty direct question. Are you an emotional sponge? Like, do you frequently find yourself just absorbing the feelings, the energy, and maybe even the physical sensations of the people around you? When someone walks into a room radiating stress or anger, do you literally feel your own stomach tie in knots? Well, if you're nodding your head right now, you really need to know that you are far from alone. In fact, a massive chunk of the population, roughly 15 to 20%, experiences the exact same thing. And here's the thing, this isn't just some quirky personality trait. It's a reality that is deeply biologically anchored right in your nervous system. The science behind this is honestly so cool. In psychology, it's called sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS for short. And what research shows is that in highly sensitive people, the stimulus threshold in a part of the brain called the thalamus is actually lower, meaning incoming sensory signals pass almost entirely unfiltered straight into the cerebral cortex. So your brain is just acutely aware of its environment, processing emotional and physical stimuli on a way deeper level than most people. And because you have this open filter, that heightened awareness manifests in a few different ways. You've got physical empaths, who literally absorb other people's pain and physical symptoms. You've got emotional empaths, who basically wear the sadness or anger in the room. Then there are intuitive empaths, who just naturally pick up on unspoken intentions. And earth empaths, who are profoundly attuned to the physical environment and nature. Overall, it's this incredible superpower of compassion. But, as we know, every superpower has its weakness. Which brings us to part 1, the empath's kryptonite, when high sensitivity meets high conflict. It's a complete clash of worlds. On one side, you have the empath, someone who feels everything so deeply, lacks those emotional filters, and constantly, almost obsessively, seeks to heal others. And on the exact opposite end, you find the narcissist, someone defined by a grandiose sense of self-importance, a pretty severe lack of empathy, and this relentless need for emotional supply. They don't want to heal, they just want to exploit and dominate. So, what happens when these two collide? Well, it creates what psychologists call the empath wound. Because the empath lacks emotional filters and has that natural urge to fix things, setting firm boundaries is incredibly hard. They end up just soaking up the toxic, manipulative energy of the narcissist like a sponge. And it's this exact vulnerability that traps the empath in a really dangerous, draining dynamic. When we look at the conceptual framework of narcissistic abuse, it maps out this trap perfectly. It's built on things like trauma theory, power and control dynamics, and learned helplessness. The collision between the empath's need to nurture and the narcissist's absolute need to control leads straight to trauma bonding. That's a powerful, destructive attachment rooted deep in your neurobiology, and it keeps the victim emotionally paralyzed and desperately dependent on the abuser's approval. Let's actually break down how that bond gets forged through the cycle of abuse. First, you hit the tension phase. Lots of gaslighting, lots of emotional neglect. Then the explosion phase, which brings sudden verbal abuse or humiliation. But right after that, the honeymoon phase. This is the love bombing, the intense apologies, the charm offensive. Finally, it settles into a calm phase of denial. This chaotic loop of cruelty followed by compassion is called intermittent reinforcement, and it creates cognitive dissonance that is literally addictive, keeping the empath totally stuck in a cycle of false hope. Now, obviously, escaping this cycle is the ultimate goal, but what do you do when complete no contact just isn't an option? Say, you share custody, or you work in the same office. Well, let's jump into Chapter 2, the shield, the gray rock method. The core goal of gray rock is right there in the name. Become the most boring object in the room. Just imagine a plain gray rock sitting on a beach. It's totally unremarkable, nobody's picking it up. You want to become completely emotionally flat and unrewarding. You're giving that high conflict person absolutely nothing to react to, no reason to argue, and zero emotional fuel. To pull this off, you've got to follow some pretty strict tactical rules. Rule 1, only respond to direct, practical questions. Keep your answers incredibly short, purely factual. Do not share personal details, no feelings, no wins, no struggles. Keep your voice completely neutral and monotone, minimize eye contact, And this is the big one, never, ever react to their insults or even their compliments. Now, if you're an empath, I know this is incredibly tough because you literally have to suppress your biological urge to engage, defend yourself, or try to heal them. There's this really powerful quote from a survivor of narcissistic abuse who used this exact method. They said, "I'm not okay with this being permanent, but I'm okay with it being what I need right now." And honestly, that perfectly captures the mindset you need. Grey rock is a tactical, temporary shield. It is absolutely not a permanent state of acceptance for how you should have to live your life. And that brings us to a really crucial warning. Part 2, the reality check, healing the nervous system. See, the catch with Grey rock is that it's purely a behavioral strategy. Outwardly, it demands this performance of complete emotional flatness, but internally, you are still an empath. You're still feeling the sting of every single provocation. If you just focus on the outward behavior and skip the internal processing, all those suppressed emotions just pile up. They get trapped right in your nervous system. So to actually survive this, you have to find a safe place to process all that trauma you just swallowed. So you need a concrete game plan for the second you're out of that situation, your post-encounter recovery sequence. Step 1, move your body physically. Go for a walk, a run, or even just vigorously clean the house to discharge that huge spike of nervous system activation. Step 2, process emotionally within 24 hours. Journal it out or talk to a trusted friend or therapist. And step 3, deliberately name what was painfully hard about that encounter, but also recognize what actually worked to keep you safe. Now, for the longer-term trauma that narcissistic abuse leaves behind, there are some deeply effective science-backed healing modalities. Things like somatic experiencing, or SE, which helps release the physical tension and brace muscles your body holds onto after prolonged stress. EMDR therapy is fantastic for helping the brain properly file away specific traumatic memories, so your internal alarm system isn't constantly going off. And of course, regular therapy and journaling help you build a clear narrative of exactly what it is you are protecting. These therapies literally help your highly sensitive brain unlearn the muscle memory of fear. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. How are you going to protect your energy today? Look, being highly sensitive is a biological reality, and it's a truly beautiful gift to this world. But it absolutely requires fierce boundary setting if you're going to survive alongside high-conflict personalities. Embrace your superpower, make sure you're processing your emotions safely, and hey, never be afraid to become a gray rock when you need to shield your energy. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me today, and I'll see you in our next explainer.